today we are starting with another part of renal disorders, that is disorders concerned with bladder. We are going to talk regarding neurogenic bladder. But before we start with the neurogenic bladder, we'll be talking on what is micturition, what is the physiology of micturition, what are the disorders concerned with micturition. Then we'll talk on neurogenic bladder and treatment and complications. You know very well, these are the following symptoms which suggest that there is a bladder involvement, or we call it the lower urinary tract involvement, like dysuria, frequency, retention, hesitancy, urgency, dribbling, nocturia, enuresis, overactive bladder, residual urine, incontinence, etc. These are some of the symptoms which are very common in lower urinary tract infection or lower urinary tract symptoms, and you suspect bladder or urethral involvement. Micturition. Micturition is a process by which urinary bladder empties when it becomes full with urine. So the function of bladder is retention, or we call storage of urine, what is formed by kidney. And second function is to void or to empty out, or we call micturition. So urinary bladder function is the storage organ that can empty to completion in an appropriate time and appropriate place. Problem related to bladders are often like enuresis, incontinence, retention, etc. And it will give rise to what we call as a lower urinary tract symptoms, and together we call as a urgency frequency syndromes. Early intervention will prevent the renal damage from retrograde effect of high bladder pressure, because intravesical pressure will be elevated and that will give rise to damage to the kidney. Now this is the diagram showing you the structure of female bladder and male bladder. The only main difference is the urethra in a male is longer because it is containing prostatic urethra, and then there is a long urethra which is present in a case of a penile part. So both bladder contains a smooth muscle we call as a detrusal muscles, which is having an endothelial lining and outer layer there is a peritoneal covering. This detrusal muscle is supplied by sympathetic as well as parasympathetic supply. At the vesico-urethral junction, there is a formation of an internal sphincter which helps in retention, or we call as a storage, which is supplied by both sympathetic as well as parasympathetic nerve, and pelvic floor muscles, which forms external urethral sphincter, which is supplied by somatic nerve from sacral segment S2, S3, S4. So there are two sphincter, we call it the internal sphincter and external sphincter. Now this is a diagram which shows the control of bladder. We have got a higher center in the brain, we call cerebral center or cortical center, which gives the inhibitory impulse to pontine center. In a pontine center we have got two center, we call it the L and M center. One center is concerned with inhibition and second center is concerned with excitation or facilitation. This will stimulate lower center, what we call as a sacral spinal cord center, which has got control over the bladder. From spinal cord segment we have got the parasympathetic fiber from S2, S3, S4 segment, which supplies detrusal muscle and internal sphincter, while pelvic floor, which forms the internal sphincter, is supplied by pudendal nerve, which is from S2, S3, S4, which is supplying an external sphincter, while sympathetic fiber, which comes from the lumbar segment, which supplies detrusal muscle and internal sphincter, we call sympathetic fiber. So pontine center is mainly for facilitation, and it can also send an inhibitory input to sacral center. Sacral center, when it is stimulated without pons, it will give rise to incomplete evacuation, while pons will give rise to complete evacuation. So these are the three centers we call: cortical center, brainstem center, that is which is present in pons. It is called Barrington nucleus, and center which is present in cortex, it is called frontal gyrus center or paracentral lobule, and it is an inhibitory to pontine center. While sacral center is present in case in S2, S3, S4, and it is called on-off nucleus, and it can take part in a reflex evacuation. So pons has got two type of center: facilitatory center and inhibitory center. Cortex has got mainly inhibitory center. While voluntary evacuation can be done by cortex, which can stimulate the lower center, that is spinal cord center, and can produce voluntary evacuation. Pons will give rise to complete evacuation by stimulating the lower sacral center, and spinal center will give rise to incomplete evacuation. This is a diagram which will show you the exact supply of bladder, that is parasympathetic supply, which is from S2, S3, S4 via pelvic nerve, sympathetic supply from lumbar 1, lumbar 2, lumbar 3 by hypogastric nerve, while somatic, which will supply the external sphincter by means of a pudendal nerve, that is again S2, S3, S4. So at the level of urethra, you have got sympathetic supply, parasympathetic supply, and somatic nerve supply. Sympathetic supply will be to internal sphincter. Parasympathetic supply will be also to internal sphincter, while external sphincter will be supplied by somatic nerve, that is pudendal nerve. And this is the diagram which shows you all the supply, nerve, action and function. There is also what we call as a afferent nerve and efferent nerve. Afferent nerve is running along with parasympathetic and sympathetic, which will give sensation to spinal cord and to the brain, while efferent nerve will be by parasympathetic, sympathetic and somatic. And this is a diagram which shows you mainly what we call as a efferent nerve. Sympathetic nerve will give rise to detrusal muscle relaxation, internal sphincter will be constricted or will go into constriction and will help in filling of urinary bladder, we call as retention. Parasympathetic supply will give rise to contraction of detrusal muscle, relaxation of internal sphincter, and it will help in emptying of bladder, or we call the micturition. While somatic nerve supply does not supply detrusal muscle, does not supply internal sphincter, so it has got no action, but it will give rise to constriction of external sphincter and will help in control of micturition. We call it a voluntary control of micturition. So during voluntary micturition, somatic nerve will be inhibited and will give rise to relaxation of external sphincter, and voluntary micturition will be enhanced. So this is a voluntary control, and this diagram shows you the action of different system over the bladder. So whenever a bladder gets full, there is a stretching of the trigone, which will give rise to a stimulus via the afferent nerve. This will give a stimulus to brain. Brain will be stimulated, which will now decide whether to have an act of micturition or not. So it will allow or it will inhibit the lower center. If environment is good, it will stimulate pontine center, or it will inhibit the pontine center. If environment is proper, there is no inhibition, of Pontine center. So Pontine center will now give a stimulatory effect to lower sacral center, or we call spinal cord center. And in spinal cord center, parasympathetic activity will be increased, sympathetic activity will be inhibited, and somatic nerve will be inhibited, which will give rise to detrusal muscle contraction, internal sphincter relaxation, and external sphincter relaxation, which will have effect we call as micturition, act of micturition. If environment is not proper, higher center, that is a brain, will inhibit Pontine center. Pontine center will give rise to inhibitory action on the lower center, which will decrease parasympathetic activity, increase sympathetic activity, and increase somatic motor nerve activity, which will give rise to decreased detrusal muscle contraction, that is relaxation of detrusal muscle, which will give rise to contraction of the internal sphincter and contraction of lower sphincter, what we call as the external urethral sphincter, and this will give rise to filling, or we call as inhibition of act of micturition. So there is a storage, there is a filling, and there is a voiding, we call as a micturition. And this is the same diagram showing you the same mechanism and in another pattern. So this is a storage phase, this is a voiding phase. So whenever a bladder is full, it will give rise to stretch receptor stimulation. Pelvic nerve will be stimulated, which will give rise to the sensation to the sacral segment. That will give rise to the local reflex arc, which will give rise to contraction of detrusal muscle and relaxation of internal sphincter. But also it will stimulate the brain, which will be stimulating either the sacral center or it will inhibit the lower center. And this shows a storage phase, emptying phase. After the bladder gets empty, again the storage phase will start. So this will continue. So you will have a filling of the bladder, and during appropriate time you will have an emptying of the bladder, we call as a micturition. Now the disorders which are related to micturations, we can call that as a neurogenic bladder, in which we divide into different varieties. We call as upper motor neuron variety, lower motor neuron variety, and cortical variety. In cortical variety, we call as uninhibited bladder, and in upper motor neuron variety, we have got what we call as automatic bladder, and in lower motor neuron variety, we have got motor paralytic bladder, sensory paralytic bladder, and we have got an autonomous bladder. And you can also have a disorders which are not related to the neurogenic bladder, and you can have retention, frequency, incontinence. Retention means can't void. Person goes for frequent micturition, we call as a frequency. And if a person cannot control micturition and urine leaks out, we call it incontinence. So there is an upper motor neuron types, lower motor neuron types, and other variety. We call retention, frequency, incontinence, and there is one another variety we call the enuresis, or we call nocturnal enuresis. And there is also another group we call as overactive bladder, which will have urgency plus frequency plus urge incontinence. So by definition, now we are starting with a neurogenic bladder. So by definition, neurogenic bladder means urinary problem in which the bladder does not empty properly due to damage to neurology, or we call blood nerve supply to bladder, either central nervous system or peripheral nervous system. Definition of retention. So urinary retention is accumulation of urine in bladder, which is associated with inability of a bladder to empty out itself. This produces urine retention and distension of bladder. So inability to voluntary void urine, which can be acute, so we call acute urinary retention, or chronic urinary retention. Usually acute retention, sudden and often painful inability to void despite of having a full bladder, while chronic retention is very commonly painless retention associated with an increased volume of residual urine. Urinary incontinence. Urinary incontinence is involuntary loss of urine that is objectively demonstrable and a social or hygienic problem, while overactive bladder is defined as a urinary urgency, urinary frequency, nocturia with or without urge incontinence. Incontinence can be reversible or transient. Acute, transient are usually acute, while established urinary incontinence are usually chronic, like urge incontinence, stress urinary incontinence, mixed urinary incontinence, overflow incontinence, and functional urinary incontinence. So you can give them a name: true or continuous incontinence, false or overflow incontinence, etc. Nocturnal enuresis can be defined as involuntary discharge of urine at night by children who are old enough to become expected to have a bladder control. So age fixed out is 5 years for female and 6 years for male. Female to male ratio is 1:2. Total bladder control is never achieved or replaced or relapsed. Incidence of more than twice a weekly. Continue during the day. The person is continent during the day means person is able to control the maturation and does not have an enuresis. Type of nocturnal enuresis can be divided into two varieties: primary nocturnal enuresis, short form we call as a PNE, or secondary nocturnal enuresis we call as SNE. PNE means when the bladder control has never been attained, means person has got less than 6 months duration, and secondary nocturnal enuresis means person was previously having no enuresis for at least 6 months and now he has got first time or relapse. Now neurogenic bladder etiology we can divide into cortical, or we call uninhibited, spinal, which can be upper motor neuron, or we use reflex bladder or spastic bladder or automatic bladder. And another variety we call as a spinal, where there is a damage to the lower spinal cord center, we call as a lower motor neuron, which can be pure sensory, pure motor, or maybe mixed. And the name given to this is called flaccid bladder or autonomous bladder or atonic bladder. So we have got the three classical variety: cortical variety, spinal cord variety, and in spinal cord we have got the upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron variety. And very rarely we come across a sympathetic damage which can be to lumbar segment, that is we call as a lumbar 1, lumbar 2, lumbar 3, very rare. And another very rare is damage to the pontine center, which will be identical like upper motor neuron. So we have got an uninhibited bladder, upper motor neuron bladder, and sacral. We divide into mixed type A bladder or mixed type B bladder or pure lower motor neuron bladder. And etiology, because of cortical damage, pontine damage, spinal cord damage, above in upper motor neuron variety damage is above S2 segment, lower motor neuron is damaged at the level of S2, S3, S4 segment, and absolutely rare we call as a sympathetic damage to lumbar 1, lumbar 2, lumbar 3 segment. And this is a diagram which shows you the damage at the different level. Damage to the cortical center is very commonly because of stroke, traumatic brain injury, multiple sclerosis, hydrocephalus, cerebral palsy, Alzheimer's disease, or brain tumor, which will give rise to what we call as uninhibited bladder, or it is also given a name reflex urinary incontinence, or it is also called detrusal muscle hyperreflexia. But commonly we use the word uninhibited bladder. And when there is a damage below C2 and above S1, we call upper motor neuron variety, or we call spinal upper motor neuron variety, or we call reflex or spastic or automatic bladder. And it is most common by spinal cord injury, multiple sclerosis, transverse myelitis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, or maybe because of the disc prolapse intervertebral disc. And this is also given a name, detrusal muscle hyperreflexia with vasicosphincter dyssynergia. While when the damage is at the level of a sacral segment, S2, S3, S4, it is called a lower motor neuron variety, which can be pure sensory, pure motor, or a mix. And usually we use the word flaccid, autonomous, or atonic, which is also called as a contractile detrusal muscle with or without urethral sphincter incompetence, which is very commonly because of peripheral neuropathies, myelodysplasia, multiple sclerosis, tabes dorsalis, spinal injury at the level of T12, which will damage S2, S3, S4 segment, quad equina syndrome, herpes simplex, and herpes zoster involvement. Out of this, the tabes dorsalis, multiple sclerosis, and spinal cord injury are the very common. Even spina bifida can give rise to lower motor neuron variety. Clinical features, the most common is because of the damage to the nervous system. Two types of neurogenic bladder. We divide into two groups, upper motor neuron variety, lower motor neuron variety. Spastic bladder, or we call reflex bladder or automatic bladder, which will empties automatically as soon as the bladder is full. Person cannot inhibit that action. Flaccid bladder is usually the bladder which become distended because of retention of urine. There is always a chance of overflow incontinence, and bladder does not contract, so person cannot void urine, cannot feel the discomfort, and this will give rise to classical flaccid bladder. So we have got a three common variety: cortical varieties, upper motor neuron variety, and spinal lower motor neuron variety. And these are all the different types of symptoms with which the bladder disorders person will be presenting with. Because of storage disorders, person will present to you with a frequency, urgency, urge incontinence. Because of difficulty in voiding, hesitancy, intermittency, poor stream, terminal dribbling, incomplete emptying, frequency and urgency may be another symptoms because of the voiding disorders. So these are all multiple complaints which the person can present to you. And because of retention, person will have complications like calculus, repeated urinary tract infection, that is cystitis, may be followed by hydronephrosis because of backflow, and then pyelonephritis and CKD. And some of the symptoms may be because of these complications. This is the diagram which shows you sensory involvement, motor involvement, autonomous involvement, uninhibited bladder, and reflex. I'm not going into detail regarding this. We are discussing separately in a following slides. Now we are talking about what we call as a cortical bladder. The commonest disease which will produce a cortical bladder will be because of the damage to the cerebral cortex, like cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, traumatic injury, or because of the infarct we call as a cerebrovascular stroke. Even in case of Alzheimer also, and in case of other cortical damage, you can have a cortical bladder, or we call uninhibited bladder. Because cortex cannot inhibit the lower center, person, even in socially unacceptable situation, person will evacuate out as soon as the bladder is full, because cortical center cannot inhibit the lower center, that is pontine center, or cannot inhibit the lower sacral center. Hence there is a complete evacuation, and because of complete evacuation there is no residual urine, and as there is no residual urine, there is no vesico-urethral reflux. Hence this is also called as a safe bladder. Person do not develop repeated urinary tract infection, does not develop any complication like stone or CKD. And it is very common involvement of the frontal lobe, and whenever the frontal lobe is associated involvement, it gives rise to what we call as a dementia, which is a very common sign in case of a Alzheimer disease and in case of a normal pressure hydrocephalus. Now in a case of a spinal cord variety, which is a damage above S2 up to cervical segment, we call as a spinal cord variety or upper motor neuron variety, or we call as a hyperreflex bladder or spastic bladder or automatic bladder. Here you can have two common groups: acute spinal shock and post spinal shock stage. In acute spinal shock state, the bladder remains toneless and it retains large volume of urine, while in a post-spinal shock stage, bladder tone recovers. As soon as the bladder tone recovers, now the bladder is having an increased tone. The bladder capacity becomes small. Instead of 250 ml to 300 ml, the bladder capacity is reduced less than 200 ml. As soon as the bladder is full, there is no inhibition from the higher center. Hence, this bladder gets empty on its own, which we call as an automatic bladder. Hence, this is a variety which we classically describe as a reflex bladder, spastic bladder because the tone is increased, and it empties out without any stimulus from the cortical center or from the pontine center. Hence, it is also called as automatic bladder. Because it empties out incomplete, residual urine is very frequently present, but the quantity of residual urine is very small. Very rarely you come across a detrusal sphincter dyssynergia. Vesico-uretral reflux is very uncommon, but whenever it is present, it will give rise to infection and it will produce damage to the kidney because of ascending infection, and that's why it is also called as an unsafe bladder. Voluntary micturition cannot be done because there is no stimulus from higher center. In lower motor neuron variety, either there is a damage to spinal segment, it is damage to spinal segment, that is S2, S3, S4, either to sensory area or to the motor area or to the both area. Now whenever there is a damage to the sensory, it will give rise to what we call as a sensory bladder. Combined together, it is also called as areflexic bladder or lower motor neuron bladder, in which the local reflex arc is damaged. Because of damage to the local reflex arc, the tone in the bladder is lost. So there is a marked decrease in the tone. There is no spinal reflex. Hence, it is also called as areflexic bladder. Bladder tone is markedly reduced. Hence, the muscle tone in the detrusal muscle is also reduced. So it will have a huge capacity. And as sensory fibers are damaged, it will give rise to painless retention of urine. And when there is a retention, there is always an overflow incontinence. And even when it empties out partially. Hence, there is a very high residual volume. Because there is a high residual volume, there is a very high chance of infection. Now, because there is a retention of urine, it will give rise to intravesical pressure elevation and vesico-uretral reflux, which will increase the chances of renal involvement, that is pyelonephritis, and will give rise to what we call as a CKD. We also use the word atonic bladder. Sensory denervated bladder is very common in tabes dorsalis, diabetic neuropathy. There is no bladder sensation. Hence, there is an overflow incontinence, large capacity, painless retention, and person can void urine with straining and by using and increasing the intra-abdominal pressure. But voiding is incomplete, hence there is a huge retention of urine. In case of a motor paralytic bladder, it is very common in Guillain-Barré syndrome. In case of poliomyelitis, person will feel the sensation but cannot void, hence it is not large capacity bladder. Person will void urine by manual compression and increasing the intra-abdominal pressure, hence there is less quantity of residual urine. It can give rise to recurrent urinary tract infection, vesico-uretral reflux, infection of kidney, and CKD. When there is a combined damage to the motor as well as sensory, it is very common in cauda equina lesions, spina bifida, or complete damage, spinal cord injury at the level of S2, S3, S4. As both motor and sensory both are involved, the bladder will have a very huge capacity. Person will have a mixed picture of sensory as well as motor. Person will have a continuous dribbling, incomplete evacuation, high residual volume, hence vesico-uretral reflux, and person will give rise to recurrent urinary tract infection, pyelonephritis, and CKD. These are the variety of what we call as a neurogenic bladder. Nocturnal micturition, or we call the nocturnal enuresis, will be talking separately in other lectures. Ureterorenal reflux, or we call vesico-ureteral reflux, will be very common because of the increased intravesical pressure. Whenever the person is not able to hold the urine and there is an involuntary leakage of urine, we call the urinary incontinence. We'll be talking in a separate lecture. And whenever there is retention of urine, also known as ischurya, there is a lack of ability to micturate out. This will be talking separately. Now, whenever the person comes to you with a neurogenic bladder symptoms and signs, you investigate by means of taking a good history, neurological examination, and do a study regarding an EMG study, radiological examination like KUB, IVP, or intravenous urography we call, voiding cystourethrogram, and urological studies like what we call as micturating studies. Now, after confirming the diagnosis, the treatment depends upon the treatment of the basic cause if it is treatable, because good number of causes are not treatable. Usually the person has to undergo bladder training, and when that bladder training does not help him out, either pharmacotherapy or a surgical treatment is being given. And in surgical treatment, usually there is an intervention which is called intermittent catheter drainage, followed by Credis method, and person is also asked not to take alcohol, tea and coffee as a diuretics, and also as a diuretics. Electronic stimulation of the bladder can be done. There are other methods by which you can do is absorbent products, urethral occlusive devices, catheterizations, which can be intermittent or which can be permanent, pelvic floor exercises, vaginal weights, biofeedback mechanism, electrical stimulation in case of a stress and urge incontinence, bladder training in case of a urge incontinence. You can use botulinum toxin injection in a bladder to relax the bladder muscle in case of a hypertonic bladder. You can go for a sphincterectomy, surgical intervention like detrusal muscle myomectomy, sacral lysotomy, sacral neuromodulation, or sphincterectomy, depending upon the type of a bladder. So right from a bladder training, fluid regulation, exercise, use of antimuscarinic agents like DDAVP or other antimuscarinic agents, and then last is to go for a surgery. So stress incontinence is usually helped by doing a pelvic floor exercise. In case of a stress incontinence, which is because of a sphincter incontinence, you can go for a artificial sphincter development. When the detrusal muscle is overactive and there is an increased tone in a sphincter, you can go for botulinum toxin or sacral neuromodulation or cystoplasty or myomectomy. If there is an incontinence, you can go for urinary diversion with a stoma clearance, etc. Complication which is because of a neurogenic bladder are very common because of retention of urine like infection, hydronephrosis, stone formation, and late complication like CKD. Here I end my lecture. I hope this will be useful to you.